Alright guys, TacticalRab here today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to Valorant News. Quite the dramatic day yesterday of VCT matches over in the Challenger side. Zombs with a few words to say for TSM after they lost them a bit of money during map 1. Should they make a challenge down the line, who knows? But they do get over the line in the series they played last night. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, a couple of big updates from around the VCT. Missing a super flight, say Talon Esports, because Patafan is having it required surgery on his wrist, unfortunately, and therefore they've collectively decided that he's going to stay in Thailand for rehabilitation rather than travelling out to the Sao Paulo lock-in event. So pretty big loss for Talon. It was interesting to see. Patty's certainly one of their top guys. He's been in Valorant, then he was back to Overwatch, I think, then he's back in Valorant again. So yeah, unfortunate to see that. Hopefully the surgery all goes well, but yeah, definitely reduces the effectiveness of their team theoretically going into the Sao Paulo event coming up on the 13th of February, rather soon indeed from today. Teams will be flying out in rather short order. Also some drama on TenZ, who supposedly, according to Bodog, owe their former Valorant roster a fair bit of money, but they're now signing a CSGO team. So not exactly sure what the full story is behind this, but yeah, Bo's talking about it here on Twitter. More than likely more might come out on this over the coming days. And also just to mention, there's a new Wise Men episode with Hiko, Steel, Sean Gare, Slasher and Slicky coming back again with a couple of guests as well, with Yinsu actually, and also Boaster might be joining. So that's going on today. And yeah, so pretty cool stuff that I mentioned to you guys if you want to go and check it out. Now, we've also got some drama going on even before we talk about the TSM stuff, but also from the TSM side. This is Hazed, of course, the IGL for TSM, discussing Skuba. Now, we've seen a lot of talk about Skuba lately because he's currently in Oxygen Esports, but he was formerly on the Knights right back in the day, and there's been a fair bit of talk with Knights as an organisation. They now, of course, run the Challenger side for effectively holding players in contract jail. The idea is they sign a certain young player. That player proves to be rather good, therefore other teams want to sign said player, but they, well, set a ridiculous buyout, which is, way too high theoretically, and therefore that player has to stay on their team and can't go elsewhere, even if there is probably a good business relationship there to be done, and it kind of screws over the player in some sense. You could argue that Skuba had the buyout, had he not been kept in contract jail here by the Knights, there's an argument to say he would now be on 100 Thieves. I think even Cloud9 said they might have been looking at a player like that a couple of years ago now, or during 2022. Now, well, the GM of Knights actually disagrees with Hazed, saying it's 2021 here, but this is what Hazed says. I remember in 2021, I tried to pick up Skuba, and I was told what I believe to be one of the most ludicrous buyouts of all time. I won't say the number, but just know it was absurd. Now, I think what was the buyout that TenZ had when he first joined Sentinels? We're talking like $1 million, right? Something like that. So that for TenZ, and I think that honestly, similar buyouts were leveled for players of, that were basically in tier 2, tier 3 from organizations such as this. So Hazed doesn't give the number specifically, but I mean, yeah, you can be assured that it is probably mid 6 figures and higher at the very least. And yes, Hazed, like, I'm assuming his contract ran out because nobody was paying what was asked at the time. So Garrett actually from the Knights responds to this and says, who said this? Because the answer was, we weren't selling him, and I've said this publicly. Also, I'm fascinated at the timing. In 2021, he was on our academy roster for 1 month, main roster for 2 months, before we had any results even worth mentioning. No one inquired in 21. So that might be true, but he's maybe skipping over the point here of the whole contract jail stuff that, has been leveled for quite some time. We've seen quite a lot of players discuss this recently, right? Of course, Sean Gares as well mentioned it from the 100 Thieves side. They wanted to get him, they couldn't because, they wouldn't sell him for various amounts of money. And now, if anything, Skuba's crew is in a difficult spot now because Knights as an organization, they obviously wanted to keep Skuba, didn't want to sell him at basically any cost. But then Riot were like, hey, just drop all your teams and just run the Challenger side and do tournaments full time and become an organization that does that Knights arena rather than having any teams yourselves. And they were like, yeah, sure, let's do that. And now Skuba's gone and arguably has not had quite the career that he could have done if this had actually have happened. Now, speaking of Knights arena, last night the opening match between TSM and Mad Lions was going to be delayed by 30 minutes because a lot of these players live in Texas nowadays, I think for understandable reasons. But whenever there are inclement weather conditions in Texas, or in the South US in general, it just seems like everything shuts down. So, internet disasters, just power networks in general, also just airports just not having a good time as well has been the case over the last few days. So I believe they asked the teams what they wanted to do, and they were happy to just delay and then go again, because I think there was some concern there was going to be some serious delays here, and the series honestly could have been postponed and rescheduled for another day. And that's actually what Dominic here from TSM wanted to happen. He actually retweets this and says, please reschedule this game. Both teams have players who are impacted by the ice storm in Texas with power and heat going in and out throughout the state. Everyone get ready for a long day of tech delays and disconnects on both sides. Turns out that didn't really happen, to be fair. So, I don't know, it was interesting because they seemed to ask everyone involved and they were like, you know what, let's just delay a little bit and actually just play the match, and it actually worked out to be okay. Now, the match itself was actually rather interesting, as we shall see here in a second, because game 1, TSM got demolished here on Icebox. Mad Lions, of course, the former Dark Ratio team with Will, FPS and Co, formerly 100 Thieves. I mean, look at this final kill he gets here to close out the game, or close out the half at least, to make it 10-2. Ridiculous stuff. But in the end, TSM do bounce back. They won a relatively close game 3 on the decider here on Ascent, and yeah, they take down the series. So expectedly so, they did quite well recently at the Ludwig Tarek Invitation, of course, and Mad Lions, as they are now known, and formerly, of course, Dark Ratio, just not quite good enough down the stretch. But there was a bit of drama about this we'll share here in a second. Firstly, as Hazed says, GG is Mad Lions, great mental recovery after the map 1 disaster. But it turned out Zombs actually had some money, I believe, on TSM winning map 1 in this series, and turned out they got demolished map 1, and therefore he was already more frustrated with TSM than he usually is. But the words he says here for TSM are quite funny, really, and of course, a lot of this he's just joking around or, you know, exaggerating what he believes, but in fairness, he makes some interesting points, right? The fact that, look, if you're going to come in and get 2-13 by a team of, you know, not noobs exactly, right? Dark Ratio obviously a solid team, but far from one of the contenders you would imagine to be one of the top teams in the split, you know, you find yourselves in a spot where maybe they are slightly overrated, or, you know, Zombs reckons a terrible team, terrible organization, all this type of stuff. Pretty entertaining stuff.
It's like a hardcore TSM hater.
I mean, they're terrible. Ever since Sabrosa left, bro, they can't do anything. Sabrosa is their carry.
I'm back for double the salary.
Actually, would you go back?
I come back only if they release me. Wait, what?
What? Then what do you mean you're going back then?
Like I'll play off contract for a week.
Okay.
Like,
You said I'll play off contract.
Well, clutch, but it's all
Bro, there's
good.
no way TSM's winning, bro. These fraudsters.
They're the ones now nearing map point.
This is like the biggest
Yeah,
TSM
literally.
hater nowadays.
No, I actually hate TSM.
It's a low buy situation.
Are you getting 13-2'd by noobs?
Time around.
Trash ass team, bro, and org.
Combination.
jeez,
Proposed plan.
I'm down.
Hell?
Hashtag
Wait, we lost
release
that round?
Sabrosa.
It's been on TSM downfall here.
Yes, they're horrible.
Just runs him through the blender.
They deserve to lose. How are you gonna get 13-2? You don't deserve to win the series if you're getting 13-2'd.
Rattle the psyche of your team a bit, but the comeback and
Trash ass team.
around victory like that, keep the score close and put Mad Lions on a low buy.
This is embarrassing.
Stop momentum.
That's a great reaction.
The coaches aren't even gonna call timeout and like figure out what to do like in the middle of that game. Like, how are you getting 2 rounds only and just throwing? Horrible staff, horrible team. You'll never go anywhere. You'll never go anywhere.
So what do you think about the Zombs' comments there? Do you think he's actually got a point on this one? In the end, of course, they won the series. But yeah, game 1 Icebox, 2-13 against Dark Ratio. Like, you know, not exactly what you want to see there. GMD has 4 kills. Hazed actually was top fragging somehow for this team here. And then, of course, as the series progressed, it was Hazed who still had top frag, 51 over the course of it. Same with Will over the other side. Trick was doing his best as well. But yeah, it wasn't quite enough over game 2. Bind went 13-10 and then 13-10 on the Ascent as well to close out the series. The other mind-blowing game of yesterday was Breakthrough versus Oxygen. I mean, this series, I don't think we've ever seen this before. Back-to-back 9-3 comebacks. But yes, Oxygen, this of course is Skuba's team we were discussing. They love to go up 9-3 apparently, but when they get there, it doesn't end well. And this happened again and again. We know the 9-3 curse is kind of a thing. I don't know if it was, I mean, it must have been in these guys' heads, especially because Skuba clutched, I mean, he had an ace here to clutch this 1v1 to go up 10-3 on the game 1 Ascent. Like, when you're up 9-3, usually the way that you lose is you lose the pistol, then maybe things go wrong, it's all of a sudden 9-6, they have the better sides, and it's definitely losable in that situation. But, you know, the way this worked out, for them to go up 10-3 in this game 1 and still lose the map, it goes to overtime 12-12, they lose it 14-12, the mental collapse was coming through, no doubt. That's what happened in game 1. Breakthrough eventually come back here, win this 14-12, I mean, it was just absurd that Oxygen choked this. And then you think, okay, well, whatever, Oxygen's still a good team, maybe slightly the favourites in this series anyway, like, difficult to really call on that one, to be fair. there. But then at game 2, the same thing happens. Oxygen got up 9-3 again, and then this time, once again, it goes to overtime and Breakthrough win it 14-12. Like, I don't know how this is even possible. The 9-3 curse. We know that the 9-3 curse is kind of a thing. I don't exactly know if it's like the team that gets up 9-3, they just have a bit too much confidence and they should do that. They probably should close out the series. And kind of in the back of people's minds, they know that 9-3 is a chokeable advantage, and therefore maybe things just go wrong as a result of that. But I mean, yeah, look at this. There are 141 9-3 leads, and the team leading won 92% of the time. So the 9-3 curse, like, it doesn't actually happen that often when people come back from it. Usually the teams do close out from this advantage, but I mean, to do that in back-to-back maps, you've got to credit Breakthrough, but also you've got to credit the guys on Oxford Esports for completely throwing this one away. And as Skuba says, right, of course, a big topic of discussion of the day, what a throw from us, GG's to them, and these were the overall numbers. But I mean, the numbers just like, I mean, Skuba had a great series, but it just wasn't to be. Ascent was 14-12, goes, I mean, look at this, man. I mean, like, it's just painful stuff to go up 10-3 at this point, and then to lose all those rounds in a row, to then almost, do enough to take it to overtime. And man, that's just painful stuff. And then Breeze was a relatively similar story. 9-3 again, a 6-0 advantage, 7-1 advantage, 9-2 advantage. To squander it, man, they're going to be kicking themselves over that one. But I know a lot of people are looking forward to the games of today, and we'll see them here in a second, as Ethan says cancel all scrims, reserved a whole movie theatre. He tweets this out again yesterday to watch the Ascension games. If MAT loses a round, I'll be surprised. And even Valin and Tex here from the guard come in and say, yeah, perplexed is a good way to say it. I'll be astonished if they lose a single round in their game today. So a lot of teams are definitely suggesting that indeed they might be the team to beat MAT. We've seen the guard in action a couple of days ago. They looked pretty good. We've seen TSM in action as well, also from that group. They looked pretty competitive, but lost that game one in dominant fashion, as we saw Zombs mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, and now we've got MAT playing today. So the two games we've got Shopify Rebellion versus Turtle Troop, of course, former Squirtle squad, and then MAT versus OR Esports. This should be a foregone conclusion, especially if what the pros seem to think is actually what's going to happen here in reality. Would very much enjoy your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care, and I'll see you next time.